Kait, thank you so much for joining and being a part of season 2 of Expert Opinion. And we're just diving deep into some organizations, some of the needs in our city. We're a church that we're for the city. We want to seek the welfare of our city. And so we want to be a part of partnering with other people. And so I like to consider myself
I'm all for it.
That's good. So, and I like just to curate conversation. And so First off, Kait, just tell us a little bit about you and what led you to Brethren Housing Association.
Sure. I like to say it's divine intervention. I have had a varied career that's non-traditional for the nonprofit route. I started on Wall Street. I worked for a private investment firm, and then started working for the Department of Human Services in Pennsylvania for the last 6-7 years, which is really what sort of pushed me towards the human route of work. And then most recently, prior to this job, I worked for a multicultural engagement firm. And so we would market to the hard to reach and underserved populations of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And so I was at a chamber event when Brethren Housing Association was the charity of choice for the year. And it piqued my interest. And I said, I need to know more about this organization. I love what they're doing. I love the mission. And I got a invitation to the Little Black Dress event, and I said, there's something more I need to be doing in my life. And the executive director job posted that day, and I found it to be serendipitous. I applied, and here we are.
Wow, that's incredible. And
Yeah.
so you've been all over, from Wall Street to another nonprofit, now to BHA here in the city. So tell me a little bit more about BHA for those who may not be aware, and what's kind of its mission and its heart for the city.
So Brethren Housing Association's mission is to help individuals and families reach their God-given potential through stable housing, supportive services, and loving relationships.
Wow.
And what we do is we provide bridge housing to moms, single moms and their kids who are experiencing homelessness. And what bridge housing is it's, as the name implies, a bridge between emergency shelter and permanent housing. And so they stay with us anywhere from 6 to 12 months while we work on getting them permanent housing.
Wow. So you do a variety of things. So you do the bridge housing, and so what is that process like? I assume are you mentoring and in relationship with these moms and transition? What is that process like?
Absolutely. So we have family advocates that work with us. Wow. And what they do is they work directly with the moms at least once a week, if not more. And we provide those loving and supportive services that they need. And so that might mean budgeting classes. It might mean working on your credit report. It might mean identifying different challenges you're having obtaining work. And so we provide that structure that maybe they need to help get them to the next step. But they also have their own apartment. And so we own 22 units on Hummel and Mulberry Streets.
Wow.
And so the family gets their own space. They may be coming from a shelter. They may be coming from a bad domestic violence situation. And so they have their own private space to call home. We don't go in, we don't monitor that. We'll go in for inspections, but it's their home.
Wow. So what is the process for someone to be in this transitional housing?
Sure.
I assume there's a process. Most women are probably coming from shelters or abuse situations. So what is that process like?
Sure. So Dauphin County has a coordinated entry system now for anyone experiencing homelessness. And so they get put on a list, the SEER list. And so their needs are identified. They go on a list, and all of the organizations in Harrisburg, Dauphin County pull from that list.
Wow.
Our criteria are single moms that are experiencing homelessness.
Wow. That's so, I'm learning something already.
It's new.
Okay.
It's new.
That's awesome that the county is more unified, at least with housing.
We're organizing.
Right? That's good, because something that we know is that housing and affordable housing is a significant concern here in the city.
Absolutely.
And in my conversation over the last 2 years that I've just learned, I'm also kind of newer to my role, and I've just asked a lot of questions, what are needs? And often people think about like food or for clothing, but I've continually heard that the largest need in the city is affordable housing.
Agreed.
So talk to me a little bit more, like what is affordable housing and why is it such a concern here in the city?
So best practice is that you wouldn't spend more than 30% of your income on housing. In the Harrisburg, Carlisle area, a 2-bedroom average is over $1,000.
Wow.
For a family to be able to afford that, mom needs to make more than $20 an hour. Minimum wage is $7.25 in Pennsylvania. And so it's just not, the numbers don't make sense. So families, if they do get housing, may be spending upwards of 60% of their income just on rent.
Wow.
So then where are the rest of the bills going, the food, anything like that. So affordable housing is a huge issue. We don't have it here. We are in an extreme shortage. That's one of our biggest challenges at BHA right now is we can get our families to a good place where they're ready, but there's no inventory. And so we're experiencing a big challenge with that. And so you also have to think, if you don't have a roof over your head and you don't know where your babies are going to sleep that night, the rest of it doesn't really matter. You can't focus on schoolwork. You can't focus on getting a job because you don't know where you're going to sleep. And so that's the first piece we have to get. And then we can start to build.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more. I think we'll come back to housing, but you just named a little bit more the psychological piece for people who are unhoused. And so what is that like for them? And part of what I want to do is I think often there's stigmas or stereotypes around persons who are experiencing homelessness or who are unhoused. So just help us understand a little bit more around what that is like and what are some stories or what's that been like for you in your role with it?
Sure. So I think there's a lot of stigma surrounding people that are unhoused, but there's a lot of reasons you may be unhoused, right? So it could be a family breakup, job loss, physical mental health issues, substance use issues, domestic violence. There are so many reasons why a person could be experiencing homelessness. And I think some of the stereotypes are it's single men or women generally, which is a lot of what you see in our area when you look outside, right? When you see somebody experiencing homelessness.
That's
well,
right.
I think the latest figures were on any given night in Dauphin County, 418 people are experiencing homelessness.
Wow.
And of that, 120 are children.
120.
120 of those are children.
Wow.
So what our organization is doing is helping those single parents, single moms, and their children. And so they have shelters, but with the pandemic, we've been impacted. And so I think the stigma, one of the stigmas, like I said, is that they're single people. That's not necessarily the case.
That's right.
Another one is that they all have mental health issues.
That's right.
What if you're leaving a domestic violence situation and you don't have family or you don't have a support system? Where are you going?
That's right.
And so there's a lot of reasons that people are in the situations that they're in. And my previous boss at Human Services said, whenever you're dealing with humans, nothing is black and white.
Wow.
You live in the gray.
Yeah.
Because every situation is unique and everyone's story is different. And so you just have to be open-minded and open-hearted and listen to their story and try to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. Can you, I don't know, is there a particular story that you could share around some of the work that BHA is doing and the impact? And
every story is impactful because you've got a family coming from crisis into stability. And we have an extremely high success rate. We've been able to place over 80% of our families into stable housing, which is just wonderful.
Yeah.
Our team is just rock stars. And so I've been there since May. And one story that's really stuck with me is we had a mom who left a bad domestic violence situation. She was an immigrant. She had no one in the United States. And so she came to us, fortunately. She had never worked. She had never been allowed to work. She had then at the time, not even 1-year-old.
Wow.
And she is employed. Her daughter is in childcare. She moved into her own apartment, which she is able to pay for herself. And we were actually able to help her move in. And she comes and brings me a gift. I'm like, what do you don't bring me a gift. You're the gift. This is amazing. You're successful, you're doing great, you're on your own. So we have stories like that are just, this is why we do what we do.
Wow, and what I hear in that story, right, is so someone who maybe felt like they couldn't or they weren't allowed to, and they were dependent upon someone else, and in some ways you gave them freedom to be who they need to be as a mom, as a woman, as someone who can provide.
Amazing.
And that's incredible, actually.
Well, that's 100% testament to our family advocates and our programming.
Wow.
Our team works tirelessly with them. They love them. They pour their hearts into them, and it shows. And sometimes people just need that love, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You can do this. I believe in you. It's really impactful.
So we know that there are 120 children who any given night are experiencing homelessness, right? Your organization is hoping to kind of fill in the gap a little bit.
We are.
With moms and with families, right? And so maybe a question I'd have for you is, if we are needing to have more affordable housing in our city, what is a mind shift change, or what is our role? Like for us, our church, we're Christians, right? But even if someone's not a Christian, they're good, should be good humans. Like what is our mind shift change?
Well, I think maybe some of us are landlords, and landlords aren't always open to somebody that might have had previous credit issues or criminal history. If you just see that box checked, you may not be open to renting your place to somebody, regardless of the path that they've taken. They may have come 180 degrees from the life that they were living before. And so that's one thing I think we can do as Christians is, if you are in the position that you have an apartment, or you know somebody that has an apartment that might be affordable to someone, that we could help open the doors for them and understand their story. Talk to them before you dismiss them.
Yeah, an idea that I have in my mind right now is, what does it look like for someone who has some financial means to even purchase a property?
I think the same thing all the time.
Right, so that when there's a need, that someone can fill in the gap. And often we say, well, it's just one family, but it is one family.
It's huge.
Yeah. And so let's talk about your organization a little bit. What are some specific ways that people could be involved with BHA, or what are your needs right now?
It's really cool.
Yeah, so what are some of the entry points for people to be engaged in this work?
So we have a lot of different routes that you can take. If you are handy, if you want to help us, we build and renovate all of our properties.
Really?
We have a property manager who's been with us for over 20 years. He is so devoted and so amazing, and he and a crew of volunteers do all of our rehabs and all of our guts and all of our toilet fixes and sink leaks and everything there is. And so if you say, I have one Thursday a month and I'm like, I got 4 hours, let me go down and see what they need help with. Wow. You could help us paint a door. You could help us put up a fence.
Sure.
That's one way. Another way, small groups and organizations can get together, is we have an adopted apartment program. And what that means is your crew would come together and adopt an apartment. And you could say, we want to do a 2-bedroom. So you would buy all the furniture, not even buy it. It might be stuff that's lightly used from your house. Get all the furniture together, the pots, the pans, the glasses, some artwork, whatever it is to make it home for a family. You come in, if it's dirty, we get it professionally cleaned, but some light cleaning, set up the apartment, and when mom comes in, she has a full home. It's incredible to watch. And once they successfully graduate, they get to take all of that stuff, so they're not starting from scratch at the new place. They're set up to succeed. And so that's a huge way to help. And so that's pure volunteer. It's been extremely successful, and that's a great way. Financial, always a great way to get involved. We have different ways that you can do that. You could do one-time donations. You could join our Thriving Families for $40 a month. We provide life skills classes every Monday night. There's a 12-week faith and finance course that we teach them to work on their budgeting, work on all of the credit history. And so financial contributions help to support that. During the time that mom is at her life skills class, we have youth group.
Wow.
And so our kiddos in the program are at a youth program. So mom doesn't have to worry about babysitting, and the kiddos are getting conflict resolution, anger management, emotional preparation stuff so that they know how to handle situations. They don't really always know they're getting it, but they're getting it through the activities that our youth group is providing, but we use volunteers for that as well. And so if you have a Monday night that you're free, you want to cuddle some cute babies or hang out with some of the older kids, it's a really great way to volunteer.
Wow, that's awesome. So let me, for those who are listening, I hope that if you're inspired that you'll get involved and we'll provide your contact information.
Wonderful,
so
thank you.
Do that and links all of that. But I want to ask a unique question in light of what I just heard you say.
Okay.
Is what is the cost if people don't get involved with BHA? Or what is the cost of people if we just continue to look at, so thankfully your organization, you're one of a few in the city who are trying to fill this gap around homelessness, particularly around families. And that comes at a cost, and we're so thankful. So thank you for doing that work and your board and all of that. But I wonder, what is the cost if we don't?
Yeah, I mean, if we don't have the financial resources or the support through grants and the government that we've been working on getting, I mean, that means that there's 22 less families that we're able to serve at any given time. Right now, I think we have 36 children with us right now. And if we had to pare that back, it would be a sin. I mean, it would be really hard to think about. We have an incredible donor base. And the organization was founded 30 years ago by the Church of the Brethren. And I grew up Catholic. I wasn't super familiar with Church of the Brethren, but I will tell you, in my 7 months of being there, I've never seen a group of people that are more passionate about giving and caring for others so humbly. And the volunteers that we get from all different Christian denominations, all religious denominations actually, it's overwhelming. It really is.
Wow.
People are doing good things.
Wow.
And I think this pandemic is also bringing out something in us as humans where we're saying, well, what can I do?
Yeah, that's right.
Right? So what can I do to help? What needs to be fixed in our community? I'm seeing it.
Yeah, and so part of that is also in this pandemic, we talked about this a little bit earlier, was how is BHA having a sense of solidarity with things like Black Lives Matter and just all of that?
Yeah.
And we talked about violence as well in our city. So I think part of what I think this conversation is helping me understand is your organization with the Church of the Brethren, and I have some friends who go to First Church of the Brethren, love them, love Drew, and they're so focused on kind of this need, but also the justice behind it. And so I wonder in our city, like around Black Lives and around violence, what is our role in that? And this is maybe a little bit bigger than BHA, but just from your kind of exposure, like there's a need right now.
There's a great need. Yeah. And I think it's all of our responsibility to be involved in any capacity possible. And so I've been thinking a lot about this from the BHA perspective. So we've always served individuals regardless of race, ethnicity, sexual preference, gender. We have some males in our side-by-side program, which is for people with disabilities.
Okay.
We have permanent housing on that. So that part's not new for us.
Okay.
The inclusiveness.
Good.
What's new for us is, I shouldn't say it's new. What's evolving for us is the need to always learn, right? So it's our responsibility to be on top of what's occurring culturally, to be understanding of what's happening with some of our participants. We have staff, we have board members, we have participants that are all people of color. And how is this impacting them? What can I do as a white woman to educate myself? How can I get involved? What can I do? And we're really blessed in the Harrisburg area. There's so many resources and there's so many trainings available. There's a a central, I'm going to butcher the name. There's a diversity forum that occurs every third Thursday of the month, that David Botero runs at UPMC. And it's education, it's conversation, it's folks from the community coming together and expressing all of our different thoughts and different opinions, but in a respectful way. And so there's so many things to do and so many ways to get involved, I think. And then on the flip side of that, we're talking about safety. And our organization is in South Allison Hill, which has just been hammered lately, it feels like. And so when I started, I sort of felt like it was people just saying, well, it's Allison Hill, don't go to Allison Hill. Well, that's not acceptable to me. Like,
Sure.
Allison Hill's a beautiful neighborhood with beautiful people who love where they're from. And so I actually created a South Allison Hill Safety Committee with Tri-County Housing, Tri-County Community Action, the Latino Center. There's an organization called Light the Hill that started. We have the Harrisburg Housing. There's a bunch of us together. And we came up with a proposal. We actually had the mayor and police commissioner come sit down with us and talk about what we as a community can do.
That's right.
There's not enough cops. They don't have enough resources. So how do we fill those holes? So we presented them with a proposal that's today, I think, actually being considered in the budget. So there's things that we can do. There's ways that we can all work together to try to make our neighborhood a little bit better, a little safer.
Well, thank you. Let me ask you a final question, but before
Sure.
I do, anything else you want to share about BHA, around your work, your conviction, around the city?
Yeah. Brethren Housing is sometimes referred to as the best kept secret in our area, and I think that's a problem. This is an organization that I think touches so many people's hearts, and there's so many ways to get involved. If you don't have the financial means, maybe you have some time, maybe you have some talent that you can donate. And so the impact that's made on these families is so dramatic, and it's so immediate. We have a family that just moved in from sleeping in a car.
Wow.
A mom and 3 kids in a car. Like, that's mind-boggling to me. I have 2 little ones at home, and if I didn't know where they were gonna sleep tonight, I would not be able to even talk to you. And so I think everyone has a way that they can be involved in something. Just find what you care about and what touches your heart. This was the thing that spoke to me. And so everyone can find that thing. I hope it's BHA for all of them.
That's right. That's a good executive director would say.
I hope it's BHA. Yeah.
So let me ask you the final question. This is a
Sure.
question I'm going to ask every single person on this season. So say someone is not going to be involved with BHA. I think they should, right?
Sure.
So, but if someone's not going to be involved with BHA, or if someone maybe doesn't necessarily care much about the homeless or unhoused brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
what would you say? What is one thing or one mindset change that you wish we all would have as just humanity, and maybe as a city?
It's heavy. That's a heavy question
It is.
because I feel like our society has changed so dramatically and focused on things that are so unimportant. I mean, our whole purpose of being here is to love each other and to treat each other right.
That's right.
It's not how many likes you get on your Instagram picture, and it's really hard. I mean, you see all these young people that put so much effort into a digital life that doesn't even exist, and there's so much loneliness, and there's so many people that are feeling isolated, that I think getting involved in anything, in a church, in a youth group, in volunteering, is such a way to unite with people, and it'll change the way you feel. Selfishly, this is a selfish thing to do, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, you're giving to others, but the feeling you get is better than anything. And so I wish people would make that shift.
That's good.
That's a heavy
but that's
ask,
good.
but I think that's where we got to go. We got to help each other and love each other and understand that we all have a different story, and we could all be having a really hard time or really bad day, and you never know why somebody's acting the way they are. You just have to try to understand who they are and love them.
Well, I think that's a great way to end this, and I think
Thank you.
for the whole conversation is how can we love people better,
Right.
and listen to them better and know their stories,
Yeah.
and that particularly relates to those who are unhoused and who are in transition housing, to love them deep enough and to listen to them long enough that we can know their story deeply. And so, Kait, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
And for sharing
You're
a little
doing
bit more
great
about.
stuff.
Thank you. You are as well, my
Thank
friend.